God, it's so damn cold even here in Cyprus. So let's get that dialogue going. Let's get chatting so I can get warmed up. On today's DCEU Daily, what happens if Paramount buy Warner Brothers Discovery? Any chance of the Snyderverse being restored? Lesser chance? More of a chance? Does Gunn get to keep his job? We know that they did offer Zaslav a package to be co-CEO of the entire company, which wouldn't be good if you want Gunn out the door. We'll be discussing that very shortly. And Smallville's Michael Rosenbaum. Michael Rosenbaum played Lex Luthor in Smallville, has been cancelled because he interviewed former cast member of Smallville, Alison Mack, who played Chloe Sullivan. Now, Alison spent a couple of years in jail for being involved in a cult where she was kind of grooming young women, and she brought them to the cult, and ultimately they were sexually abused. So people are very angry that Rosenbaum dared to interview her. Now, I will be discussing this because I'm a big fan of Michael Rosenbaum and Smallville, but was it right for him to have her on his platform? We'll discuss it a little bit later on. But first of all, what happens if David Ellison's Paramount buy Warner Brothers Discovery? And what does that mean for the potential and possible restoration of the Snyderverse? Now, lots of rumours going on with this potential sale. They're saying there's about 3 companies that are going to make bids. What's the day today? Wednesday. So it's either tomorrow or Friday. They have to all table their bids. Very, very interesting. So there's a lot of fake news, a lot of rumours about it, right? We know David Ellison is pro-Trump. I don't give a shit about any of that. I'm not a political person. Don't give a shit, right? If you're going to give me a great, if you're going to give me a great Warner Brothers Discovery Paramount studio that makes great movies and great television, I couldn't give a shit who you fucking vote for. I don't care if you dig Jack the Ripper up from the fucking grave and, have him making movies. Look, I know we're in the era of cancel culture, but I don't give a shit about politics, right? Anyway, so apparently he's being funded partially by the Saudi Arabia kind of fund, public fund or whatever it is. Now, Paramount have actually denied this. So I don't know if this is true or false, but Paramount have always been, one of the main companies in with the running of buying Warner Brothers Discovery outright. So what happens? What happens if Paramount buy Warner Brothers Discovery? It's pretty obvious, right? I don't think the Senate and the government see any of these big companies buying Warner Brothers Discovery as a good thing. The opinions are actually mixed in the Senate. That I don't really understand how American politics works, but basically the government as a whole, politicians, Democrats and Republicans don't really see, Netflix owning Warner Brothers Discovery is a good thing. Paramount, Universal, because they're huge companies, and it just makes them stronger and everybody else weaker. It was a discussion being had when Disney were about to buy 20th Century Fox. But 20th Century Fox was this, and Warner Brothers Discovery is this. That's the big difference. And I think these debates, whoever wins the bidding for Warner Brothers Discovery, if that's what's going to happen, don't forget, I did inform you the other day on here and on X Twitter that Zaslav is also looking for an investment fund very similar to what the Glazers did with Ineos at Manchester United Football Club. So be very well aware that we don't know everything right now, and anything could happen. Plus, not a sale, nothing. Let's see what happened. Warner Brothers can see dollar signs because people are going to be bidding ridiculous money for this company. But with the way it works with the government, it's a very difficult situation. I think it took AT&T 2-3 years, something like that, to actually get all the government permissions in line to be able to buy Warner Brothers, the studio, everything from Time Warner. So that was a long process, and I expect this to be a long process as well. So this is not going to be quick, this is not going to be easy, and it really doesn't help Warner Brothers as an entertainment studio of television and film either if this takes too long. So there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of twists and turns, but what happens if Paramount buy Warner Brothers Discovery? Now, according to some people on the internet, which not reliable of course, that he's gonna, David Ellison is gonna look to have like male-led movies, go back to the old way of doing things, which is of course dividing lots of people. Here's the thing, money talks and bullshit walks. If David Ellison and Paramount offer the most money, then Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders will say, yes, David, take it. We don't give a shit what you do with it. In terms of the rumours of Saudi Arabia buying Warner Brothers Discovery, it seems to me that Universal and Paramount may be looking to get funding from them, so actually Saudi Arabia probably won't be buying Warner Brothers Discovery. That's how I see that situation. So if Paramount bought Warner Brothers Discovery, it is looking like that David Zaslav would have some kind of power, remainder of power at the new formation, whether it's Paramount or wherever. I don't think Netflix would want to get into bed with David Zaslav, but I do feel that David Zaslav wants to remain in power. If David Zaslav remains in power, it would make sense that Gunn remains as co-CEO of DC Studios, something I wouldn't want to see because I haven't enjoyed his running of DC Studios. I mean, look, I haven't seen Creature Commandos. The reviews may be thinking, yeah, I probably like it, it's probably okay. Peacemaker 2, haven't seen it, but from the reviews, I think, yeah, I'd probably like it, it's probably okay. I hated Superman. As you all know, we discussed it many, many times. I did a review, I had an early screening. I didn't like it, and I felt the worst thing they got wrong in that movie was actually Superman. People called me a liar, you haven't seen it early, and when you all went to see it, it confirmed exactly what I fucking said. You never believe a fucking word I say because of the amount of followers, the cheap equipment I use to record these videos. I don't give a shit. I don't need your ratification, right? That's it. I speak the truth. I'm direct. I'm honest. If you don't want to believe me because I'm not a big content creator, that's your fucking problem at the end of the day. So I believe, and it's looking like, if you listen to everyone, and you can't really listen to people, but from the information we're getting, if Paramount buy this company, it's going to be very, very right-wing. Hopefully we don't get right-wing propaganda. I don't want to see any political propaganda when I'm watching films and television. I hope if Paramount buy it, the company, that we see great DC movies and TV shows, but great movies and TV shows in general. And if they happen to be male-led, they happen to be male-led. Listen, having female-led projects isn't the problem. The point is, you just want to see great leads who deserve to be leads on TV shows and movies, and well-written and well-directed movies. Whatever your gender is, whether you're black, white, Asian, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to see great fucking movies and TV shows at the end of the day. But yes, I do feel if Paramount were to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, that Zaslav would remain at least some kind of co-CEO, maybe a silent CEO level. But again, what does this say about the restoration of the Snyderverse and Zack Snyder's position here? Because he's fighting. He keeps on posting stuff. He posted something else. Actually, I forgot my phone in the kitchen. Stay there. I'm going to show you what he posted because he keeps on posting. I can't keep up with what the guy's posting, but this is what he posted recently. So this is a recent post from Zack Snyder, a guy holding a placard, a sign, which says the end is nigh. So what is all this about? It looks like he's trying to say that Warner Brothers are about to accept a bid from someone and this sale process is about to be over. That Warner Brothers is no longer going to be owned partially by Discovery and partially by AT&T. That this process may be being done quicker than I believed it was going to be. So it's a very, very interesting situation. Snyder clearly knows what's going on here. I believe he knows who the favourite is, or probably the people or the company who are going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. He's either fighting via Instagram to get a seat at the DC Studios table, or he knows he's going to have a seat at the DC Studios table. Because it's a very interesting situation with Man of Tomorrow being greenlit and Gunn right now still in place and claiming he's doing this and that and the other. Has Gunn been made assurances by the potential new owners of Warner Brothers Discovery, or is he just hoping for the fucking best? I think it's the latter. I think he's just hoping for the best, but it looks like Snyder is very clued up in this situation. From the first moment I saw Michael Rosenbaum play Lex Luthor in the Smallville pilot, I fell in love with him. As an artist, as an actor, it was such a brilliant performance from start to finish. He's the most goated Lex, in any Superman adaptation. Doesn't mean I don't like the others, but he was amazing. And via a TV show where he had 7 seasons to create this character with Gotham Miller and the other writers of Smallville, he did an outstanding job. He also seemed to have a very, very brilliant personality. He liked to crack jokes, he did brilliant, DVD commentaries. So I absolutely loved this guy, and I looked up to him as someone who was playing a goated version of Lex Luthor. So he's always been loved by all Smallville fans. Now, when he left Smallville, I was making big predictions. This guy's going to win Emmys, he's going to get Emmy nominations every year, he's going to win Oscars, he's going to do movies, he's going to be the next De Niro, because he really was that good in Smallville. He tried a few comedy projects that really didn't work out, stuff that he actually wrote himself. He did a movie or two, I think. It didn't work out for him. He fell off out of the industry. But then he turned up with his podcast, Inside of You, and then another podcast which was directly about Smallville, which was called Talkville. Him and Tom Welling would review every episode of Smallville from beginning to end. Right now, they're on season 7. Last week, they did my favourite episode of Smallville ever, Descent. I was scrolling up my Instagram yesterday to see that Michael, on his Inside of You podcast, was interviewing former Smallville cast member Alison Mack, who we all know, and if you don't know, she did time in jail. She was grooming young women, bringing them into this cult. She was involved with this leader of this cult. They were lovers. He was sexually abusing them. It's a very, very serious case. What Alison Mack did, and her involvement in this cult cannot be denied. Her actions were absolutely hideous. We don't know if she was manipulated, seduced, or whatever by this guy. But she did do some time, but not a lot of time. Some people may believe she should have done more time. My attitude towards Alison is what she did was absolutely hideous. But the world we live in, once you do your time and you're able to come out of jail, and you've been rehabilitated, you're able to reinvent yourself. It's not up to me or you to forgive Alison Mack. The only people who have the right to do that, one way or the other, are her victims. She didn't do anything to us. So Michael interviewed her because she's back on the comeback trail. She did this podcast with this company. I'm assuming she got paid for that. And now she's been interviewed by Michael Rosenbaum on his Inside of You podcast. And Michael is being cancelled by many, many people on Instagram, but mostly on X, Twitter. A lot of people are offended and angry. Even some people calling her a rapist. Alison is not a rapist. As far as I know, she didn't rape anyone. Correct me if I'm wrong, could be wrong. But she did coerce those young women, and ultimately, because of her actions, And because she was bringing them in, those young women were abused. So I'm not here to defend Alison. I'm not here to defend Alison Mack. And she wouldn't want me to either, right? She held her hands up. She turned evidence, and that's why she got such a reduced sentence. The question here is, was Michael Rosenbaum right to interview her on his platform? Again, it's his platform. It's not up to you to moralize everything. It's not up to you or me to be judge, jury, and executioner on everything that people do. He created a genius, successful platform, which is inside of you. He has every right to platform her if he wants to and talk to her. It's a great opportunity for any podcast to do it. I mean, an actress has been cancelled recently for platforming a far-right guy. Don't know if he's in politics, if he's part of government, I don't know. But she's been fired from a job, an acting job or something. This is the world we live in. Divide and conquer, discourse, toxicity. Michael had every right to interview Alison Mack. She's done her time. Her behaviour is despicable, but he has every right to bring a former cast member who he knew onto his platform and interview her, right? And people are angry because people don't want to see her being interviewed. People don't want to see her on the road to recovery. People don't want to see her rebuilding her career. I can tell you that most companies still won't touch her with a barge pole. And if she wants to work in entertainment again, she's going to have to do it herself through her own production company. But who's going to distribute her stuff? Who's going to touch her with a barge pole? It's very difficult for Alison to reinvent herself, and she knows that, but she's trying. She's trying to do it. I don't believe Rosenbaum was wrong to interview her. I don't. I'm not justifying her behaviour. He is not justifying her behaviour. So now, and this is typical of the world we live in today, people are now calling him a Zionist because apparently he signed some bits of paper to cancel actors and get them fired who won't work with Israeli studios and production companies or whatever, right? Again, I am on the Palestine side of the dispute between Palestine and Israel because I was bullied at school and I'm very much against a herd of elephants trampling on little ants, right? That's where I am. But at the end of the day, Michael Rosenbaum is Jewish and he has certain views. And some other Jewish people have other different views. Everyone comes from their own points of view. And everyone has the right to take any side they want, right? So I don't like this situation. Oh, well, he's done something we don't like, so we're just going to start spreading stuff about him being a Zionist and things like that. Listen, at the end of the day, Michael Rosenbaum was an actor. He doesn't work in the industry anymore. I don't know why. I don't know why he's not an actor anymore. That's something you'll have to ask him. But he's a very smart guy, by the way. He turned his podcast into a successful business. He turned the Smallville podcast into a successful business. And now he does all these fan events with other cast members. And they're making a lot of money. They even do a cruise, a Smallville fucking cruise. Now, when I look at that and I see him plugging it, and I see Tom plugging it, I think, what a fucking con. I wouldn't go on that. But at the end of the day, we live in a capitalist world. And you're allowed to make money out of something. The people know what they're paying for. So at the end of the day, it's fine. And I also don't have a problem with that. So my opinion is this. Alison Mack did disgusting things, right? Disgusting things. But she paid her debt to society. And Michael Rosenbaum has every right to platform her, however distasteful you think it may be. And something else. I would absolutely interview Alison Mack on my channel. That doesn't mean I'm justifying her behaviour. She did something hideous, she paid her debt to society, and she has every right to rebuild her life. And I understand, if you're a victim of Alison's because of her behaviour, that's a different situation, and you have every right to have every view, any view you want. You don't have to forgive her, you can forgive her. It's totally up to you. But it's not for us to forgive or not to forgive Alison Mack.